everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. Sir, really appreciate you coming back on.
Thank you, Peaches. Thank you for having me, and also thank you for being here.
Now, I actually think that I need to thank you for having us because it was your invite that brought us here. And It was our original engagement, really.
Yep.
So
I'm glad it's working out, but it's an honor to host you. It's an honor to be here in Dallas and have the mobility team, which is much broader than just AMC. There's the Guard Active Duty Reserve. There's also AFSOC and AETC, so integral to what we do.
And so I'm going to hit a wide swath of things because I've got a lot of things that I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Just in the way of one from a weapons school and a warfare center perspective.
Right.
Thank you. The amount of really prioritization, effort, and just care that you and AMC alone has put into things that we're doing with the CAF, weapons school, Bamboo Eagle,
right,
is incredible and is not matched. And I truly, is from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all of that.
Thank you. I just came from the meeting of the weapons officers that are all here at the convention, and I extended that same thank you to them. We have made, built on a culture of handling the operational environment, no matter what it is here in Air Mobility Command. But with the weapons officer expertise, including the weapons instructors on the enlisted side, we have advanced so strongly in the right direction. And it's on their shoulders. That expertise, that passion, that humble, credible, approachable attitude is really making us better each and every day. So I extend that thank you back to the whole team.
No, that's great. I appreciate it. So we're here at essentially your event. Is this your last one? I don't know if the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
but.
No, I'd say this is my last one as the commander of Air Mobility Command. So my command is 3 years. That 3 years will be up in September of 2024. So I don't think it'll be my last one, but it'll certainly be my last one as Air Mobility Command commander. And I look at it as a 3-day commander's call, where we can bring in the command echelon, we can bring in the airmen that actually execute the mission. We can talk about things that matter. We can have guests come in and provide us better clarity, better perspectives, and we can all advance together. So I look forward to this each and every year, and I don't want to talk too much about it being my last one as the commander because I'm going to miss it.
I'm sure. Well, you definitely know how to throw a bash here and put together something. So as we're, this is your last, you're in the final stretch of being the AMC commander.
Right.
What are some of the rocks that you are trying to, if you could say, some of the big rocks that you're trying to get across the finish line before you kind of hand over the baton?
Absolutely. I was hired into this job because of my experience in the Pacific. So I've got about 10 years in the Pacific, 2 tours in Korea, 2 tours at Indo-PACOM, and a tour at PACAF. And so, about 10 years and the majority of my general officer time, and the majority of that time working on joint staffs. So, with the joint team and COCOMs. So General Brown challenged me when I came into command. He said, go faster. And, with that experience and then being surrounded by the rock stars that are Air Mobility Command, we're actually able to go faster. So I felt that the first year was really the crawl phase. Let's understand the environment. Let's understand where we are and where we need to go. Year 2 is defined by, let's confirm that. So let's accomplish this exercise we call Mobility Guardian. We already were doing the exercise. We just moved it into the Pacific. And we tested in real life. We tested how good we were. We executed that this past summer. Now we have the insights. Now it's time to do something about them. So, the last year of my command will be about actually closing the gaps that were identified. So command relationships, command and control, what we're calling explode into theater, which is basically just the fundamentals of what we need to do, the basic blocking and tackling. How do we get out of our home station? How do we support the joint team? How do we get in a position where we can demonstrate America's will and our readiness? And then hopefully with that type of readiness, we deter any potential adversary from wanting to take us on. But if someone should decide to take us on, that readiness is also the same thing that delivers decisive victory. So, that's going to define the last year of my command. If I know one thing, it's going to go by like that. 10 months seems like almost a year, and you think September is going to, ease its way here. I'll be in August before I know it, and I hope to be there with all these gaps closed.
No, and I'm with you, and everybody understands the challenges that are. We're a large entity. We don't move quickly,
Right.
but we move very deliberately.
Right.
So, and one of the things you mentioned was, and I think it's important to highlight, and we have through a lot of these podcasts that we've done, but the importance of logistics, the importance that and capability
Right.
that really the AMC provides. Everywhere from your tankers. And they're innovating, right? You have KC-135s doing AMP-4 blacked out landing.
You got it.
Doing low-level refueling with F-16s. You have C-17s with Rapid Dragons. You have all the AMC assets that are doing pulsed operations, which are really iterating and getting after what we need.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it shows you a couple things. The first thing, it reminds me that the old guys and the old gals just need to get out of the way. Let airmen be airmen.
You said it, sir.
Let airmen be airmen. Airmen are naturally, innovators. They're naturally disruptive. The reason the Air Force mutinied in 1947 was to, get after effects-based and not the traditional platform-based approach to solving problems. Everything you described is on the backs of incredibly young and incredibly talented professionals that get after it. You had mentioned earlier the weapons officer and the advanced instructors. They are the critical piece to this that can take that vision, understand the risk, mitigate the risk, and then own the risk and move things forward rapidly. It feels to me like there's a lot of momentum out there. We need to continue to resource it, need to continue to encourage it. And it proves to me each and every day there's nothing we can't do as long as we just let airmen do airmen things.
Yeah, right. And I think you've recognized, I think you've done a good job of recognizing that, because really what you've given has been commander's intent.
Right.
From day one, commander's intent. These are the things that I want you to get after. This is what General Brown put forth: accelerate, change, or lose.
Right.
So right off the bat, you almost have not a blank check, but like, hey, you have your marching orders, get after it.
Right.
And that's what you've done from day one. And I think that, paired with the honest transparency and the willing to go, yes, as the ANC commander, I want you to take risks, mitigated risks.
Yes.
Not unnecessarily risks, but take risks, get out there, trade some pain if we need to, but we've got to solve these problems that our nation is depending on us to solve.
You're right. Well, I have this thing where, I'm not super smart. I'm not a weapons officer. But we talk about a thing called commander custody. And commander custody of the operation, means that, I'm expecting the command echelon, in a unit, from my level all the way down to the lowest level, to do exactly what you described. I want them to push the limits. We should be uncomfortable in our approach to training. I'm not interested in hurting somebody permanently or killing somebody. But I am interested in getting a sharp departure from the status quo. Really it does boil down to a command team's understanding. How do you develop the skill set to really understand at depth, mitigate at depth, and then own it at depth as you move forward? What I don't like is taking risks that you don't know about. And I don't like in the after action report, that there was 2 or 3 things we should have thought about that we never did. If that's what it is, that's what it comes to. But how do you develop that innate skill set that this is just a part of who we are? Your community especially, I think, understands this. My first time really understanding what SOF and AFSOC, were doing was I was a punk captain stationed at Ramstein Air Base, Germany, flying C-130s. And we used to go down to Morocco and, put on an exercise. And, we'd go forward with the PJs, forward with the CCT. And I got my hand on one of your handbooks.
They're great, aren't they?
They're phenomenal. And on page 1 is the soft truths. But as I flip that through that, in between drops and in between training, I was just amazed by the depth and the breadth of how it approached the mission. So, actually from that, I still have it in my office now. I took the soft truths out of that, I asked permission, but I said, may I please have that part of the checklist? And I still have it today. But that approach is a very healthy approach. And I think it shows command and commander custody of the operation. So there's a lot to do here. As good as we are, we've got improvements that we need to make, and we need to make them aggressively. So that's a big part of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up the soft truths, and that's something that we truly live by. And soft truth number one, is humans are more important than hardware.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, the award ceremony for OAR that we attended,
yes.
Thanks for the invite,
yes.
that we attended last night is proof
yes.
that humans are more important than hardware, and that without the humans, that mission would not have gone.
You're right.
There was no one thing, widget, a new aircraft, or anything like that would have solved those dire problems that were there, that the people were the ones that said, I have commander's intent, I have, as the mission commander, I know what needs to be done, and we're going to do it. And I'm sure, not to indicate anybody, but I'm sure that there were AFIs or TOs that were broken.
Right.
But they did what needed to be done,
yep.
and they were successful, and they did an incredible job.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, absolutely humbling to be around that team. I got a saying in that first manifesto that I wrote where I talk about invest our American tenacity and win now. And I can't think of a better example than that. So, you could not have dreamed, that scenario would have played out the way it did. But you could absolutely expect that our airmen would go into that operational environment, figure out what needed to be done, and then just work towards a common goal. And, that took way more than just the mobility team to make that happen. I'm humbled, absolutely humbled by their actions. And you can see, when you see that, and when you hang around people like that, there is no way we're going to lose against anybody. Nobody else has that. Nobody else on the planet has what we enjoy in all of our United States military branches. And then that we have a culture where we take the time to celebrate each other's actions, where we take the time to try to get it as right as we can when it comes to the recognition that people deserve. There's more work to do when it comes to Allies Refuge, and you and I have talked about the PJs certainly. But I'm gonna not give up on that. And when you talked about what I want to get done in my last year, that's part of the other things I want to get done in my last year.
I wasn't setting you up for that.
I know. But these are the things that matter. These things matter. They will invest everything that they are in the op. And when you see that firsthand, there is no limit than what we can do to make sure that they get the recognition they deserve.
No, yeah, and I promise you, sir, there was nobody on the ground that looked at a situation and said, well, that's not my job.
Right.
You've got, flying crew chiefs, you've got Ravens, you've got load masters, you've got pilots,
right.
Flight engineers that they see something that needs to be done. Somebody is begging for help in the worst day of their life.
Yes.
And they're not saying, well, I'm not trained for that.
Yeah.
That's not my job. Well, it is now.
Yes.
And that's just the way airmen in general, as the big A airmen, that's just the way they're wired.
Yes.
And you're right. It is humbling to be around.
Yeah. And
the way that they want to serve is incredible.
There's a picture that Sean sent me of the PJs at HKIA during the evacuation. And there's an Afghan family, and one of the PJs is holding the baby. And then you're thinking, it's a stunning picture on its own, but when you really study it at depth, it speaks to everything you just talked about. And I'll try not to cry like a baby here, but, when's the last time you handed your baby to someone you didn't know? When's the last time you handed your baby to someone you didn't know that was holding a weapon? When's the last time you handed your baby to someone you didn't know that had a weapon in the most chaotic environment that you've ever been in or will ever be in your entire life? And that's the brand that is the United States of America. All that mattered was that flag on a sleeve and that family's full trust in who we are as Americans, certainly who we are on a joint team, and then who we are, as airmen. It's just the most powerful picture I've seen in ever, perhaps, and it speaks volumes on both sides. The trust that the Afghans put in us, but also the level of professionalism and get after the mission no matter what, on behalf of the airmen, and certainly that PJ crew is amazing.
Yes, and it is our job to try and highlight all that stuff they're doing, and thanks to you and your team. And I know that your A1 staff absolutely work day and night.
Smoked.
They
Yes.
are. Hopefully, they're getting some rest right now,
Yes.
or they're enjoying themselves while they're
That's
out
right.
here.
That's right. They are incredible.
Yeah,
they are incredible.
And that's that's some service right there. One of the things that we're trying to purvey is service. Like, all of these folks are serving
Yes.
because they want to, not because they need to, because
Yeah.
they want to. They want to give. They want to be part of something that's a high standard.
Right.
They want to serve their country. They want to be part of something that is worth
Right.
fighting for.
Right. You know, I watched, for some reason, last week I was watching the Detroit Lions game, you know, and there was a segment ahead of the game, you know, where they're interviewing the coach. And don't get excited, I'm not a Detroit fan, okay? So, but they're interviewing the coach, and he's getting teary-eyed, like I often do. And in his explanation, he's saying, you know, the most powerful thing you can see is that service. But when you see people with that service invest themselves completely in the mission, you know, it's hard to get, you know, to not get emotionally tied to what this team puts on the line. I've deployed a bunch, not at all like you have, but I've deployed a bunch. But I learned my best lessons on that service and that investment when I was a wing commander and I was pushing squadrons out. You know, when the rotator shows up, okay, and everybody's sad, and we're all at the stairs,
Saying bye.
and the service members go up the stairs, get on the rotator, and now it's just the families. All right, that's what they're putting on the line. That mom, that dad, that brother, that sister, that son, that daughter, that wife, that husband, that boyfriend, whatever it is, that is the commitment that's being put on the line for somebody else. And then, you know, you fast forward to 4 months later or 6 months later, now you're at a very different feel. Now the excitement is building, and the same group of people comes back, and then the service people come down the stairs, and the joy and the relief of what it means to bring that investment and that service member together. I mean, it really showed me powerfully the level of that service and commitment that they extend.
No, exactly right. And sir, we are running out of time.
Okay.
And I was going to ask you one more question.
Let's
but
hear it.
honestly, I don't know if I want to follow that up, because that was fantastic.
No,
So again, really appreciate you having us, and thanks for sitting down with us.
thanks for being here. And you're going to get Ashley on next, right?
Yes, we are.
So I have a 5-star boss. Her name is Ashley, and she is amazing. She's the family commander.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything that you've done for us as a One's Ready podcast. Thank you for everything that you've done for the Weapons School, the Warfare Center, and AMC.
Yep.
It's an honor.
I'm proud to fly your wing. Thanks, brother. Thanks, Peaches.